Slide 175, Lesson 8, Verbal Root, Stems, Conjugations. Okay, so I just want to show you very simply these verb stems again. First of all, we have our root, in this example, katal, and then we get the kal, simple active verb stem from that, with the patach at the beginning, katal, he killed, and then we get the 6 other derived stems, the nafal, the pile, the puel, the hifel, the hofel, and the hithbaal or hitbaal. So instead of katal we get niktal, kittal, kutal, hiktil, haktal, hitkatal. He killed himself, and so forth. Won't go through all of those again. So we have 6 stems from the kal stem, so 7 stems in total. And from these, just like in the kal stem, we also have perfects and imperfects and imperatives, cohortives, jussives, infinitive construct, infinitive absolute, and participle, as we saw these in Lesson 7. Slide 176, Lesson 8, Verb Stem Tables, Perfect of the strong verb. Okay, well, here we have the perfect past tense table of the strong verb, and it doesn't just contain the kal form of the perfect, but it also lists all the other stems: nifel, pile, puel, hifel, hofel, hithbaal. So you're going to see a lot of these sorts of tables in the back of grammar books, and you're not required to memorize them, but just see the patterns that occur. So if we take the first stem, the kal, here we have it here, the simple active verb stem, the basic verb, and now we'll compare it to the nifel. And the nifel basically just has a nun prefix in front. That's its distinguishing characteristic. And the pile, it is similar to the kal in appearance, except the vowels are different. The vowel pattern chirik or patach under the first radical, in this case a chirik, and a dagish forte in the second radical. So in this mem here we have the dagish, making it a hard or double sound. So that's the pile. And the puel, we have a dagish forte in the second radical, there we go, and a kibbutz patach under the first consonant. So that's very, very identifiable. Those 3 dots in a line, and a diagonal line, is the kibbutz, the u sound of the puel. Okay, and the hifel, it has a hay with a chirik in it as a prefix. Here it is here. And it has a chirik yod stem vowel, sometimes, on the 3ms and 3fs, and down here on the third person common plural. And moving on to the hofel, we have, it's very similar to the hifel, except the hay prefix, as in the hifel, is now reduced to a kametz, just the as opposed to chirik. And the hifel and the hofel are distinguished by their prefix and stem vowels, so just slightly different vowels here as opposed to here. Okay, and the hitbaal, very easy to recognize. It has the hay, tav, prefix with the hirik and vocal shiva here. Hit, shamir. And it has a dagesh forte in the second root consonant just here, the second radical just here. Shamir with a dot there, dagesh forte. So there we go. That's the perfect past tense table of the strong verb for all the different verb stems. And please feel free to print these tables out for handy reference. Slide 177, Lesson 8, Verb Stems Summary. We have looked at examples of the following verb stems: the kal, the nifl, the pile, the pool, the hifl, the hoffel, the hithpale. These stems provide a very simple and elegant way of creating words. Instead of creating a brand new word, we can modify an existing one. We do this by adding other letters or vowels. So we take the basic kal verb and add new vowels and sometimes extra letters to modify its meaning, thus creating 6 extra verb stems proceeding from the central kal branch of the menorah stem, and so providing light to the world. So here we have our kal as a central stem, and then derived from that central stem are the branches, or the verb stems, these 6 other verb stems branching out from the central candlestick just here. Just a nice way of perhaps remembering it and looking at it, that the kal, which is in the center, from that all these other ones are derived. So we have only seen tables of the perfect verb stems of the strong verb, but there are imperfect ones. We'll also look at weak verbs in the second half of this lesson in part 2. But we're now going to have a look at the imperfect verb stem tables, and we'll see those on the next slide. So the perfect ones, the perfect verb stems, are perhaps nicer and easier to identify, but some of the imperfect verb stems are a little bit more difficult to identify, and some of them are quite straightforward too. So let's have a look at that. Slide 178, Lesson 8, Verb Stem Table, Imperfect of the strong verb. Here we have the 7 stems of the imperfect or future tense of the strong verb. The first stem is the kal, the simple active verb stem, and following that we have the nifal, the first derived stem, and the only difference between the two are the actual vowels. You'll notice that we have a under the shin we have a dagesh for a starter, and then underneath the shin we have a kamitz followed by a sire under the mem instead of a holom. So the nifal imperfect looks almost identical to the kal except for different vowels. And we see the same thing again with the payal. We simply have the same consonants but different vowels. A patach and a sire and a dagesh in the second radical. The pu'al, we have a dagesh forte in the second radical, and a very recognizable kibbutz in the first radical under the shin. The hifl, we have a patach before the first radical, just here, under the yod or under the tavs, under the aleph and so forth. And we have a hirik yod stem vowel, just here, hirik yod, all the way through, more or less. except in these two. The Hoffel, we have a Karmitz before the first radical, just there. And the Hiffel and Hoffel are distinguished by their prefix and stem vowels. So there we go. So all of the imperfects are very similar, if not identical, to the Karl in terms of consonants, but the vowels are different. So quite different to the perfect, which has very recognizable differences. Of course, the Hispel, it does have a different consonant. It has an added tav here, a tav with a vocal shiva there. So instead of Yishmor, we have Yit Shamir. So again, the Hispel is quite recognizable because of that tav added to it. So that's the imperfect future tense of the strong verb, and it's good to have this table printed out just for reference. You're not required to memorize any of this, but just see the patterns in the vowels and so forth. Slide 179, Lesson 8, Verb Stem Table, Imperative, Infinitive, and Participle. So here are the verb stems, and here is the table for the imperative of the strong verb. And again, we had a look at imperatives in the second part of Lesson 7. And we have the infinitive of the strong verb, the absolute and construct. And we have the participle of the strong verb also, and all the active and passive, and all the various verb stems. So again, this is a table for handy reference, so you may wish to keep this and print it out as you're reading the text. Again, you're not required to memorize any of this, but just see how these various stems affect the vowels and so forth. Well done. It's time to have a cool, refreshing break. You deserve it. Lesson 8 will continue, and we will look at the following topics next. We'll have a look at weak verbs. And what are weak verbs? Well, you'll just have to wait until part 2 to find out. So well done. Have a break.